Sheesh. Goodness gracious. I don't even know what to say. What an episode from Candace Owens, Candace Farmer. What an episode. Like, goodness gracious. She, this was a very impactful episode, not only for what it inspires, what it could inspire in an individual, but how it may be remembered in history. Like, this is an episode, her returning from break today and, getting sort of back in gear, uh, saying what she says and doing what she does on these interwebs. Um, this one. This is an episode that may be remembered, and it's just because of the general timing of everything, right? She was gone. She took a vacation. She rested up. While she was gone, a lot of updates happened in like the whole um, preliminary probable cause trial for Tyler Robinson against the state occurred, and she was obviously also still receiving and sorting through tips in her tips box and all of that. And she comes back and she just does what only she can do. Let's dive right into this first clip. Oh no, first, housekeeping. So sorry. Hi, I'm Soul Expression. Welcome back to the Inner Storyteller. Welcome, if it's your first time, to the Inner Storyteller. We are reacting to Candace Owens being back, battle bunned up, doing big things, boldly, brutally, and bodaciously. I hope that's not. I don't know what that word bodacious actually means, or if it's a real word. But I think I heard it in a rap once. And anyway, if you are here, then you are in for real conversations. We talk about natural law. We talk about religion, the good, the bad, the ugly. We talk about money, anarchy, culture, and why and how mankind is manipulated from the shadows by forces that do not have our best interests at heart. We are not bashing faith systems here, though, even though we don't subscribe to a religion. We are simply examining the psychological effects of the stories we have the most faith in and how those stories help shape society. That examination must always sit right next to an honest look at the current human condition, which is slavery. Government is slavery, good people. And if any of that makes you uncomfortable, makes you uneasy in any way, please know that although you are encouraged to stay, maybe confront some of those feelings, you are indeed always welcome to leave after you like the video. You are not welcome to leave until you like the video. But let's go ahead and dive right on into the first clip that is, of course, toward the end of the video because it's the most impactful clip, right? So hopefully y'all already saw her episode before hopping in here. But let's dive into this first one and react.
Blackman's house, she put Bibi Netanyahu on the phone. And he's just like, hey, I got your letter. I want to talk about that letter from months ago. This feels like a good time. I don't buy it, guys. I think this is darker than we could ever imagine. I think Baron Coleman put it in the correct terms when he said Charlie said no to something way deeper and darker, to the Prince of Darkness himself. I do believe that. We're going to find out more. I am on top of that car. Do not stop investigating, okay? all of these side tracking stuff, these reports coming out, trying to say this person s.com/Candace
Whoa.
application.
Whoa. About right here?
If any of that's true, but I would agree
No.
with you.
Oh, what was that?
Tarmac hug. It's all back on the.
Here we go. Okay, it's around here.
They wouldn't get away with it. And I want to leave you with that optimistic note because we're not going to have dogs away from the courtyard. The FBI is.
Dang. What? Oh, you know what probably happened is they finished you know how when she goes live there's a period where she's not actually live yet and it says coming, show starting soon. They must have just cut that out and then that changed the timestamp. Changed the timestamp on me. Okay, that one still looks like it's the same and that one looks like it's the same. Oh man, I got to try to find where I
Sent on
was.
their way. They were not allowed to enter the courtyard. That would be associated with a wider awakening. And let me tell you, right,
Yep,
it is
here we
meant to
go.
be a distraction. But
Here we go.
stay focused on this investigation to tell their souls. Investigating, okay? All of these
All right, there we go.
from months ago. This feels like a good time. I don't buy it, guys. I think this is darker than we could ever imagine. I think Baron Coleman put it in the correct terms when he said Charlie said no to something way deeper and darker, to the Prince of Darkness himself.
And one of the things that hold on, let me help her fix her face
I
real
do
quick. There we go.
believe that.
There we go. Okay. Well, I tried, Candace. One of the things that she might be talking about is, she said in this episode, is it fair to ask that if Andrew Colvett is immediately telling me upon the death of Charlie Kirk that it was supposed to be me, which is that's just so dark. That just sounds dark, right? But she said, she assumed that he was just doing like bargaining grief. He's crying and he's saying these things. But he said it's supposed to be me. It was supposed to be me to her, so it's supposed to be you to Candace Owens. She said in this episode, is it fair to ask if Charlie said no to killing Candace Owens, which could be metaphorically killing her career, like joining the talking heads of stopping this, Candace Owens because of her anti-Semitism or whatever. Um, but like, or physically, obviously somebody died very shortly after Charlie Kirk said no. So you know that's one of the things that she brought up. But this is what this part that she's getting ready to get into now, after she says, and keep focused on this investigation, is what I really want to react to from this clip.
Going to find out more. I'm on top of that car. Do not stop investigating. Okay. All of these side tracking stuff, these reports coming out, trying to say this person, oh, even looking into this makes you put a target on air. Ignore the noise. Ignore the influencers. They have chosen a side. Okay. They have made a decision to tell their souls, and their reward for that, selling your soul, will be eternal. Okay. Ain't the reward you want, but it will be eternal. Eternal damnation is a reward of sorts, I suppose.
We talking to you, Brandon Tatum. we talking to you, Mr. Tel Aviv Tatum. Mr. Mama. Oh man. You know, I feel like Candace is aiming that at Brandon Tatum. And I don't feel like she's only aiming it at him, but I do feel like she's about had enough of his shenanigans. He even mentioned her name a couple times recently, right? Not viciously. He tap dances, but he even Brandon Tatum done mentioned her name a couple times, and she's very strict on her rule of she doesn't like to publicly go at people that she can have a private conversation with first, right? But he's trying. He's been Coach Collins said, you know, there's going to come a time where he's not going to be allowed to keep slinging the Fed slop without saying Candace Owens' name in a negative light. And low key, I think, you know, that button may have been pressed very recently because he done said some stuff. So we're talking to you, Brandon.
That's my belief. Stay focused on this investigation. We will have so much more this week in terms of where we left off on what was going on in that car. We got an unbelievable tip about that piece, which we describe as looking like cardboard that was in the back. I believe this is what has caused the mass panic, the reports, the influencers attacking, naming me. It is meant to be a distraction, but I feel fortified right now. And I need the rest of you guys to as well. I need everybody to be focused, go max, get more information, keep pressing. They're already going to allow the trial to go through. Good.
Well, hold on.
We will never get an opportunity to understand what rules over us than right now.
And that right there, that's the line I was looking for. We will never get a more potent opportunity to really understand what is over us. What we mean by the 99% and the 1%, or the we the people versus the government. What we mean by that, right? The oligarchs versus the rest of us. The elite versus the rest of us. The order giver class. The parasitic, satanic, dark occult overlord class. Whatever you want to call it. Them. Understanding how they operate, what kind of psychological operations, how they are built, what made them work in the past, what's making them fail in the present, what may make them obsolete in the future if we come together and do something about it. All of those points come together in how deep and how far this Charlie Kirk investigation may go. And that's just insane. That's crazy that that's happening in our lifetime. Of course, there have been an ample amount of potent opportunities similar to this, right? You got 9/11, you got a whole bunch of all the conspiracies, right? The moon landing, wars, almost all of the wars are a conspiracy. A whole lot of operations that have been declassified. Right? Just we've had ample opportunity to really come together and not only understand how they operate, but also choose to say no, like the character Charlie Kirk apparently did in this story during that call in the Hamptons. Said no to something. We can stop being obedient to their system. But before I get into my rant, I do want to react to another clip here. So let's go ahead and get into the next clip. Lost connection to the audio. Let me see. Let me. Okay, yeah, remove it. Stop share, and then I just have to share it again. This one here, share. There we go, and then add to stage. Boom. You should be able to hear it, but let me know anyway. Please.
Anyway, noticeably missing was any of that shock testimony regarding Tyler's parents' statements turning their son in. Again, we got to get an update from Bill Ackman on the mill. That's a cool mill. It's a lot of money. To the contrary, there was plenty of testimony regarding how Lance Twiggs's prints were on everything: the towel, the gun, the Dremel that was used to carve out the messages on the cartridges. Lance claims, you want to know his alibi is for that day when Charlie was shot or had an exploding mic? Lance claims that he slept in until 1 p.m. How convenient. Charlie gets hit at 12:23 and Lance actually slept 37 minutes beyond that on September 10th. So convenient. And then he woke up. Here are some more devastating points of this hearing, okay? Lance confirmed my report that Tyler was not political. If Lance is to be believed, then their entire leftist rage motive about LGBTQ rights virtually just disappeared, okay? Take a listen.
So, disappear. y'all have to, and here's the thing. We have to remember the story, like how this played out, right? At first, we had, Cash Patel was making the rounds and answering a whole lot of questions, and you had Dan Bongino, and you had like the first circuit of talking heads answering all of the questions, and a lot of them were government officials, right? Erica wasn't talking about what happened in some like cryptic kind of, oh, I've seen evidence that y'all haven't seen kind of way to the public yet, right? She was relatively quiet on the case itself, except for the infamous, of course, I forgive him. This manipulative call to make everybody already see him as guilty. That young man. Right? But regardless, she wasn't on her talking about the case, bag yet. Most of the talking heads were people in the like the sheriff's office, the police, and the feds, Cash Patel, making statements here and there, dropping the narrative, and then the podcast talking heads that are seemingly connected to whatever the feds say goes, they were more so just saying to trust what the Fed narrative was, right? They didn't have theories of their own. And the theory, the thing, the one point that they ran on to try and culture war this thing was the established quote, air quotes fact that he did this because Charlie was saying bad things about the T in the LGBTQI community. That was the one thing that drove this person to commit an assassination, they said. And then his boyfriend, his roommate boyfriend, says they never talked about politics and he never mentioned Charlie Kirk's name before that day. And then we're also supposed to believe that Lance Twiggs did not turn in anybody or did not react normally to waking up to that level of surprise at the behavior of your roommate boyfriend, which I don't necessarily believe that might be the case. But anyway, that level of surprise, you didn't tell nobody that you woke up to this confession about your roommate boyfriend's actions on that day. Goodness, great! It's insane. It's insane.
Did you and he ever talk about politics?
He did more than me. I didn't really, still don't really keep up with politics very much. He'd usually talk about stuff he heard on the radio on his drive to work in like their work car, since it sounds like their whole crew went in the same car most of the time. But I wouldn't say super consistently because it wasn't a topic I really contributed much on.
What about Charlie Kirk? Did you ever talk about Charlie Kirk?
I personally had never heard him talk about Charlie Kirk before specifically.
Bro, what? And it's so like, okay, right? We're supposed to believe that this guy's boyfriend committed an assassination on somebody he didn't hate enough to talk about all the time in private. I don't think it works like that, people. I personally don't think it works like that. I got one more Candace clip that I want to react to. Because she came back and she is just killing the game already. This is why she's number one in the whole world. But yeah, let's get into this last clip.
Reason they did it, the reason why they went insane was to overcome the testimony of Caitlin Oliver, okay? Caitlin Oliver was the ATF's forensic biologist, and she gave a devastating testimony it was devastating to the prosecution. And these are the major points from that testimony, okay? First, she explicitly admitted that the media's assertion that Tyler Robinson's DNA was found on the gun was, and I quote, a scientifically indefensible statement. Take a listen.
From a scientific standpoint, you couldn't read the paragraph that sets out the likelihood ratio in your report, whatever the number, and then blast a headline in the media, Mr. Robinson's DNA is found on this item. That's a source attribution, is it not?
Correct, yes.
And that would not be scientifically defensible, would it?
Correct.
Hold on. The Fed sloppers, as we now call them, I guess, repeated every day as if they were getting paid for it, on every hour on the hour. His DNA is on the gun. His DNA is on the gun. His DNA is on the gun, right? They kept saying it as if they wanted to lull you into a sleep with their lullaby. And yet, they were making a scientifically indefensible statement by repeating that. And not only were they doing so, but they were doing so next to statements like, and so I hope he gets the electric chair. I hope he gets what he did to Charlie. I hope this young man dies. And it's insane because they turn around and on points or parts of the narrative that don't support their conclusion are being questioned by people that, let's say, align more with Candace's side of the argument than the TPUSA FedSlop side of the argument. They say you have to wait until the trial. You have to wait until the trial. Right? But in the same breath, will make egregious conclusions, conclusive statements about guilt. This clip is not over yet. She was, like I said, she was just going super hard today.
Tyler Robinson's lawyer then goes through great pains to show that the media and the influencers took what was essentially scientific jargon and they lied. And I'm going to explain that to you. So I want you to lock in, okay? You may have heard them over and over again stipulating that Tyler Robinson was a major contributor to the DNA sample, right? So if you're uninitiated and you hear that, it sounds like it means Tyler Robinson's DNA was all over the gun. He's a major contributor to the DNA sample. But it actually does not mean that at all. And I want you to take a listen to what she says, and then I'm going to break it down for you further so that you can understand what they did here.
And you can't tell us anything about when the DNA was deposited on the trigger guard or the trigger, correct?
Correct.
You can't tell us anything about whether, when you say it's at least 4, it could be 5, 6, or 7 people with DNA on that trigger or trigger guard, correct?
Correct, which is why we have the major contributor that is suitable for comparison, and the minor contributor is not suitable for comparison due to that complexity.
And again, major, minor just has to do with the levels of DNA you were seeing. It has nothing to do with someone being engaged in activity that is major in relation to the minor contributor.
Yes, so the major contributor is the majority of the DNA contributed to that sample.
Okay.
So I'm going to break that down further and why this is really big and we're building on something else.
And I'm just going to let her explain it because she breaks it down like, so that a third grader can basically understand it. That's not directed at anybody watching this video right now. But she does a good job. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and react myself.
Else that she's going to say that is explosive. So the idea of what she's explaining is that, like, this is my mug. I drink out of this mug every day. So I definitively would have the most DNA fingerprints all over this mug. But occasionally, Ashley, my producer, will go fill up the mug. So let's say Ashley, when she fills up the mug, I'm all on the handle. Maybe Ashley just touches her 2 fingers here when she fills up the water. Okay. She is saying that these are mixed samples. So let's say they just took a sample right here of where Ashley happens to have touched it, but it still also has my fingerprint on it. Ashley could be described as a major contributor to the DNA sample, despite the fact that this is my mug and the majority of this mug has my DNA on it. Ashley could be described because they just carved out that one portion, which happens to have Ashley's DNA on it.
So the entire gun narrative, throw it away. And by narrative, I mean linking the gun to being a piece of evidence linking Tyler Robinson to the actual act of committing murder. That's what I mean by that. Throw the whole notion that you can use the gun, the Mauser, the World War II Mauser, um, and use that to link Tyler Robinson to the act of committing any crime. Throw it away. Right? How do you use the gun when you can't you have no footage of the? Oh yeah, actually, I need to find that too, because that was another crazy part of this episode. Is it over here? Let me see. It's getting real close. I'm finding it. I'm sorry, y'all. But she showed. Yeah, here it is. Here we go. Okay. Um, they don't have any footage of something that is identifiable to Tyler Robinson actually taking any type of shot with the gun, and the DNA headlines. Tyler Robinson's DNA is on the gun. Are not scientifically defensible, meaning they're doing too much with the information that we have thus far. They're going way out of pocket with the amount of information that we have thus far, provable information that we have thus far. Right? That's what that means. So basically, there is no link to Tyler Robinson and the committing of murder with the gun narrative. There's no link. Right? But one more clip actually, because this shows beyond the shadow of a doubt that they do not have anything
Did you pull that link by any chance?
linking Tyler Robinson
Yeah, let's
to
play
the
that.
committing of murder.
Let's
Check it out.
play this link so you can actually see it yourselves before we watch how the influencers reacted. Here they are watching it on the screen.
Okay, now you can see that this is the top right quadrant that you would be looking at when the camera moved to where Robinson jumps off, allegedly Robinson jumps off the roof. Now, you can't see this here because it's a little difficult. I'll zoom in as much as I can so you guys can see, but the clear identifying image of Tyler Robinson, you're going to see it on this screen. And again, this is at 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 27 seconds on Court TV's day 2 of the trial. Okay, so you're going to see here. Correction, it's 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 30 seconds. He's running across now. I don't know if you can see it because all he is a pixel. That's all he is a pixel. He's running across right now. Watch.
I can see it.
That's all they got.
That's it. That's the enhanced version that everybody wants to condemn this guy on. Again, I'm not saying one way or the other here. I am not saying one way or the other here. But that's the enhanced photo that everybody has seen in the courtroom. That's it. It was leaked by the state. It was on one of the state attorneys.
Fantastic work. He is correct. I fact checked that. We looked at it. We saw them go back and forth about why they didn't want to play it for the public. And sure enough,
Right.
they made a mistake and accidentally played it for the public. That blur that you just saw. Now, granted, obviously, we're looking at a video of a video, but that's the video. That's it. And 12 point, it's born of 12.4, which you are
She's talking about 12.4. 12.4 is the exhibit number. So in court when you submit files and you have exhibits attached to the files, you have a naming convention, a numbering convention for those files. So 12.4 is like 0.4 exhibit 12 or whatever. So the enhanced by being zoomed in footage that we just saw of the through somebody had their camera pointed towards the laptop and that accidentally got leaked to the public. That video, right, where you can't see anything that is identifiable to Tyler Robinson, is the video that the Fed sloppers went online and made videos and X posts, tweets, if you will, saying that in 4K you clearly see Tyler Robinson's face. Right? Benny Johnson said that. In 4K, you clearly see Tyler Robinson's face. Right. You are looking at a pixel, sir. Ma'am, whatever you are. You are looking at a pixel. But when it comes to me, I am not here to diagnose anybody's sickness or what happened in any given event in life. I am simply here to speak about things from my perspective. And in my perspective, from my view, Candace is back for a reason. And it has a lot to do with that first clip that I showed, which is her basically saying that this is the most potent opportunity that we will have if we stick with it, right? We the people, all of us, you viewers who make it possible for us to continue to speak into microphones on camera, please like the video, subscribe to the channels, do your thing. And obviously the people like me, the actual people on camera, everybody, if we stick with this, then this may lead to us understanding those who rule us. Because here's the thing, good people. In my work, I don't really shy away from holding myself and my peers accountable for our own obedience patterns. Right? We have a pattern of behavior that is rooted in our own obedience to the very systems that enslave and torture us on a daily basis. And it's because the means of torture come with so much comfort that we choose to ignore it, and we choose to also ignore the suffering of those around us and those that we know of. And we choose this cold-heartedly with some calculation and some awareness, but not enough obviously to really mobilize. Because we're not completely evil, we choose to be obedient, right? We choose the comfort over the unknown, the unknowns that come with choosing principle over comfort. And at the end of the day, without our obedience, there is no such thing as slavery. Government is not slavery without mass obedience, right? Government can be a useful idea without blind obedience. But what we don't realize and what we don't want to accept and what we don't want to look at is what exactly is government. Do you even know like what the word government breaks down into? The etymology of the word government. It's two Latin roots. You got mentis for ment, mens or mentis, which means mind. You got govern, or the Latin root gubernare. That's why the governors, like a state's governor, the governor, the race to be elected governor is called the gubernatorial race, right? They use the Latin origin for govern. So government, gubernare means to steer or to control, right? When you steer something, you control its direction. So same thing. So to steer, to control. You got mind, mentis, and you got control. You put them together, government, you got mind control. Or control the mind, same thing. Government is a social experiment technology. It's not a means for human beings to be less evil to each other, as statistically speaking, death by government is and always has been the number one killer of humanity. So it's not a means by looking at the fruit that it produces of us playing government. It's not a means for human beings to be less evil to each other with the freedom that cannot be stripped from by a government. Right? You can be physically hindered from expressing your freedom, but the freedom is within you. They can't actually take your free will from you. They can take your mental faculties, they can beat you up physically or put you in a cage, but they can't take what is you from you. And a part of you is the free will, this sort of gift from God called free will. Regardless, your value is infinite, and therefore you have the freedom to choose slavery for as long as you wish. And by you, I mean as an aggregate human family. I don't mean anybody, like I'm not finger wagging or preaching to anybody. I simply observe what we do. As a human family, we suck in ways. We're also very beautiful. We also do look out for each other in very, you know, almost mystical ways. And it's beautiful to see. But our problem lies in the stories we tell ourselves about money and government, what I call the mother and father of all religion. The religion of monetary value is the mother, the religion of man's authority or government, which is basically the belief system around the legitimacy of someone ruling another person, right? Someone ruling another peer, another just as capable of as they are person. Um, these two belief systems, we tell ourselves stories to justify their false legitimacy. We tell ourselves stories to ignore their importance, right? The importance of examining the religion of monetary value and the religion of man's authority. We tell ourselves stories to ignore the suffering of others when we feel comfortable. And we tell ourselves stories to ignore our spiritual calling to be free from the systems that make us harm others simply by participating in it. We know that something is wrong. We feel that something is deeply wrong with this place. And not enough of us have the grammar, the logic, right? Or the rhetoric to get the message across. But we do have the feeling. We do have the shared human objective to make the world a better place than what it is now. We do have general knowledge that like t-shirts like this are often not made in the best working conditions, and that the cobalt for the laptop that I'm doing this podcast on right now probably came from little boy and little girl hands in the Congo somewhere who worked themselves to death on behalf of overlords. We do have some knowledge, and we know and feel that something is deeply upsetting to the balance of nature here, right? We see nature all around us, and we see a general harmony between the soil and the tree and the sun and the rain. but we don't see a general harmony in the way that we treat each other as human beings. And by we, I mean all of us, including the police and military, right? The order follower, abusive class. The question that we have to keep coming back to is, what story are we willing to live? Because when we ask that story, Jesus Christ, because when we ask that question, then we can start to reclaim authorship over our lives again. You know, a lot of new age circles and like spiritual black folk circles will say, you know, you got to reclaim your power. Well, to me, that means you got to reclaim authorship over the stories that you tell yourself. The deep seated stories that shape and direct and govern, pun intended, your automatic responses to life, right? Your programming, your inner storyteller. If you are not the author of the stories bought by your inner storyteller, then you are not the author of your actions. Not most of them. Some spontaneous actions will always be yours, and it's what makes you you. But if the rest of your life is lived in the mundane, obedient, passive, unaware class of people, then you may as well give up the rest of you too. And I don't say that to be rude to anybody, and I direct that at myself for the times that I fall short on my own values and principles. There's no blame here, right? No blame here. Um, I'm a big fan of Miss Candace Owens. I feel like, you know, it's a big, big tragedy that happened, but some of the things that she says today, I have been, you know, kind of waiting for her to say for a long time, because you know, I fell into some of the information regarding some of the deeper topics that she gets into in this deeper this upper echelon of the ruling class that she's been researching more recently after Charlie's passing. Um, you know, it unlocked something in her, and she's the number one podcaster in the world, that it gives me hope, because if she's the number one podcaster in the world and the mainstream media does not want that to be the case, right? The mainstream media does not touch the Charlie Kirk assassination case. Mainstream media does not touch it. Don't want to say nothing. Because what could they say? What can they say? Their legacy is at stake here. Everybody knows what likely really happened. To you know, everybody has a sense that what they say about what happened is a bold-faced lie, and has a sense of why Charlie was taken out and who may have stood to benefit the most from that taking place. Everybody knows this already. And so, really, for real mainstream media coverage to happen on this story, somebody would have to agree with Candace Owens. And we can't have that. We can't have that in the mainstream. So, you know, she inspires me, because through all of the vindication that happens in times like these, where the courts, you know, are just revealing the hand of the dark occult forces that are behind their undertakings, uh all of the vindication, it pales in comparison to all of the attacks sustained by Candace Owens and people like her, right? She's not the only one that's attacked, and nobody is gonna be like, you know, y'all should feel sorry for Candace Owens. Like, no, she obviously is built for this. Whatever she got going on is working. But it is severely unfair what she goes through on a daily basis for nothing, right? The intentional uh miss well just the intentionally bad faith attempts at destroying her character are so one-sided. It's like NBA players, going to a 5th grade basketball game and subbing in for the opponents. You know, the NBA players and they play their hardest. They score 700 points in the first half of the game. Right? That's 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 what it seems like, when you look at how many attacks and how many death related threats and all of that she sustains. And just with a smile and still looking out for her family and still hold on, you too close, camera. There we go. With a sense of grace about her that is authentic feeling. Um, but yeah, man. Thank you all for stopping by. Of course, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I heard one time when I was doing some research on like the universe and how the universe really works. I heard that if you like the video, when you least expect it, your best friend is going to tell you a secret that's going to change everything. And all you got to do is like the video. It's the craziest thing. You got to try it. Try it. Let me know in the comments when you come back if it worked. But it's going to be when you least expect it. So obviously, don't expect it to work immediately. And but come back, watch the video 700 times. On your 700th time, let me know in the comments if it worked. Because I heard this from somebody that heard it from somebody. So, don't take my word for it. But like the video, subscribe to the channels. I'll see y'all tomorrow in the next one. Also, Wednesday, I'll have Sarah Cross on. She'll answer some questions for me. Sarah Cross, former host of Time Strider Radio. She's a history nut and knows a whole lot of she knows a whole lot of a whole lot. So we're gonna have a great and fun conversation on Wednesday. Tomorrow I have another scripted live for you guys. So I'll see you then. Peace and love.